Open the channels and the floodgates will come if you are willing to keep opening it. Don't postpone joy. Don't postpone knowing your God. Don't postpone your spirit. Now is the moment.
Welcome to the Better Human Podcast. My name is Greg Witz, and each week we're going to be bringing you some incredible and inspiring guests and topics that are going to take your life to the next level. Thanks for spending time with us. Sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, Agapi.
Greg, hi.
How are you?
Great to see you.
You know, the show is very much about what we could do to sort of grow and just be better humans. And the one topic that, you know, I've always shied away from is spirituality.
Right.
Because of my, or the majority of our experience when we're introduced to it, maybe from a religious standpoint.
Exactly. No, I'm so clear about my message. And when I communicate it to people, they really get it. You know, they get it, why we need to embrace our spirituality to be fulfilled. And it's almost, I feel, all my life, I've been preparing for this moment to bring this message to the world and whoever comes on my path.
Why don't we start with that?
Okay.
How do we define spirituality?
Okay, so can I read you something from my book?
Yes.
Speaking with Spirit, 52 prayers to guide, inspire, and uplift you. Please don't let the word God limit you. God can be a loaded word. It means something different to everyone. When I say God, I am referring to a transcendent power beyond what words can possibly describe. So when we connect to the spiritual, cosmic, a larger than life presence, in whatever way resonates with us. Before his events, the point Mark Nepo often asks his audience if they believe in something larger than themselves. 99% of people raise their hands. I guess then he says, we are all mystics. Whatever word you want to use, whether it is God, the light, the spirit, the higher self, divine intelligence, the one, the I am, universal love, a higher power, or anything else, please use it. It doesn't matter what you call it, as long as when you call, you remember that you are calling your maker and calling upon a power that lives in you every cell and in your very own breath. So I describe it like this, that, you know, we have 36 trillion cells that are making us right now. So there is Greg and Agapi here, and these cells have created this magical, mysterious, awe-striking body of ours. And we have no idea how that is made, right? Mm-hmm. We can study it, we can look at it, we can be scientists, but that power, what my mother used to call, is your life force. So people then put context around it, and then they become structured about that force. I call it the spirit that is formless. So when we come to your breath, when you come to the moment of, you just allow yourself to be present in your breath, you're awestruck, because as my yoga teacher used to say, you don't take your breath is freely given to you. So there is life. So what we are looking for here is a connection between the humanness and the spirit. For what we call the spirit is the life force, or this energy that is the divine intelligence that has created us. So in order to communicate with that, we basically have to shut up. Because when we are, I don't know, I don't understand, and we go into rumination of our thoughts, or I should do this, or I shouldn't do that, or I'm judging myself, or I'm not good enough. When we are so focused in the aspect of ourselves that is the human life, then it's very hard to connect with that unless we come into silence, unless we come into presence. So how we come into presence is, for me, there are many ways, Greg, okay? I mean, you can be in front of the ocean, and you can be on a mountaintop, you can be in the jungle, you can go into the Amazon, you can go to a safari and look at the amazing animal kingdom. You can be taking your shower in the morning and go into your presence and say, oh my God, how does this water get here? How do I get here? And there you are, naked in your shower. As you know, we all do that in the morning, I hope. And you know, wash yourself, and you have a moment and you go, oh my God, my hair, my neck, my spine, my legs, my being, how did I get here? And that's enough to just say, I'm just in awe of that. And at that moment, if you open your heart to your vulnerability, to your amazing, actually, awe of who you are, the spirit starts to come in and become more aware of your spirit. So on your right-hand side, you have your humanness, you have your history, you have your struggles, you have what I call the agapiness, the Gregness, you know, everything that compiles this physical 2022 moment in our lives. On the left hand, you have your presence. How do you come to presence every day? Prayer. That's what I call prayer. That's what I call you come into receptivity. You can put your hands in your heart. You can bow down. You can look up. It doesn't matter how you do. It's not a posture. It's an energy. It's a reverence. And you take a moment and you say, thank you. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for this miracle of my life. What I call it God. And I say, today, partner with me. Partner with me. I open myself. I open my heart to agape, to the compassion of what is agape, of what is humanness, of what is this amazing life, which I have no words to describe. And I give thanks and I go about to do my life. But that moment of partnering with that, of acknowledging it, it already opens up the channels. And you start to receive that energy. And then you can journal. I have my journal and I write I could write like 5 times a day if I'm in a challenging situation, if I'm upset, if I'm going through a separation.
Challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, I take my journal and I go, Spirit speaks to me. And I let the Spirit comfort me and guide me and tell me at that moment. And my spirit calls me beloved. And I say, beloved, stay with this, go through it. Or it will say, go out for a walk, smile, play the music you love, go hug somebody, cry. The Spirit will help me because the intelligence that is working with Agapi, that's working with Greg and anybody who is listening to us, is available to us 24/7. But we must open our hearts to it by allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, Greg. You know, you've heard your children when they, I don't know, how old are your children?
6 and 8.
When they were babies, remember when you first held them in, was that an awe? There was your beautiful wife that came out, this being came out of her. Do we need any more description of God than that moment? I mean, my niece just gave birth to a gorgeous boy, 1 month old. When I hold him, I go to heaven. My mind disappears. My to-do list disappears. I'm like me and that being that I have no idea how it got here. I have no idea what it's thinking. I don't know how it's functioning, but it's growing every day.
It's the pure magic of life, right? It's
the pure magic of life.
Like you said, unexplainable.
So when you say to me, I am, what did you say? I am
I've always battled with the concept of spirituality, and I think because my reference to that had always come from a concrete religious standpoint, right?
Exactly. You cannot imagine how many people, after they read my book or hear my podcast, they write to me and they say, I left my church, whatever it was, Hinduism, Catholicism, Judaism, Christianity, because I did not like the structure and the rituals. But why did I leave God? And my whole message, Craig, at this point in my life and in writing the book, is that you don't, if you are religious and you go to church and you worship through your rituals, God bless you, that's wonderful. But if you don't have that, find the spirit in you every day and find your own rituals, find your community, find the people that resonate with you, find your love, find your heart. And if I asked you right now to tell me a moment in your life, as a little Greg, as a teenage Greg, or whatever in the spectrum of your years up until now, if I asked you, Greg, do you remember a time where you felt that you were more than you, that you felt the presence of spirit and God when you were little? Would you have a memory of that?
Yes, and maybe not in a specific way, but there's been many things that have happened in my life that, I might describe it as there was someone looking after me. I was protected. I was gingerly guided from disaster into a different path, and that's coming in different forms. My closest time to this, I went and I saw, she described herself as an energy worker, and my father had passed away probably a couple years before, right? And there was still some unresolved, call it emotions and feelings. Anyway, I don't know how to describe it, but it just felt when I was working with her and a light worker, there was like water pouring over me, right? It felt like there's a thing of water pouring over me. And I can never explain it. I can never put words to it. But I walked out of that day lighter, and some weight was removed, call it.
Yes, after your father passed.
Yeah, so my father had passed a couple of years prior, and I found myself, I was introduced to this person, and she described herself as an energy and a light worker.
Yes.
I didn't quite know what it was, but I'll lean into it. And I said, all right, let's go do a session, and didn't know what to expect. And we were working through some things, and like I said, I don't know how to describe it, but there was one point in the session where
you felt the spirit. You felt the spirit. Yeah, you felt the spirit. Exactly. Well, there it is. It's like we've all had experiences of that, but often either we put them aside or we don't feel we incorporate them in our lives. And it's funny because I have a chapter in the book that I absolutely love, which is called Finding the Extraordinary in the Ordinary. It's chapter 7 on page 37. And it's actually, what?
Can you read it to us?
Yes, I will read it to you. I mean, it's just, I wrote this book, Speaking with Spirit, during the pandemic. And I had a contract to write this book. And I have to tell you, it was one of the hardest time. The closest thing I can describe it to was like I felt I was imprisoned.
And I appreciate that. I felt also very, very restricted and tied up and confined and
yes,
and not just physically, it was emotionally and spiritually.
Exactly. I mean, I was the closest thing I have felt as a mental breakdown. Right. And I'm a very spiritually grounded person with tremendous amount of inner resources, with my psychology, spiritual psychology for University of Santa Monica, with my spiritual teacher teachings. And I never stopped practicing all that, but I was aching. And so I made a commitment to write every day, and I write through dictating. I talk to a person, so I would add a person on the phone, and I would walk up and down my street in Los Angeles, where we live, or go to the beach, and I would just pour it out through my tears. And in the midst of all that, I found that in the midst of Agapi's hurricane of my ups and downs and my tornadoes inside, like this emotional turmoil, there was a steady eye of the hurricane. It was my spirit. And I would move in and out of that. And the prayers were a download to me from that place. So what the bereftness that I felt is that up until that time, I had been speaking to thousands of people in conferences. And every time I spoke, Greg, there would be floods of people hugging me and crying in my arms and saying, my God, my heart opened up. I release this pain. I resonate to your message. You are so real. Agape means unconditional love. He said, I felt unconditional love. I felt the spirit was using me to interact in a very visceral, connected way. And I left there, I would feel like in total bliss. And that was my joy. But what happened, obviously, at the pandemic, that all stopped. So I was watching one of my favorite movies. Have you ever seen The Chariots of Fire?
No, what's
Please,
it about?
can you watch it with your wife?
I will absolutely.
Put it on your
Chariots of
list.
Fire?
Chariots of Fire.
Chariot of Fire, okay.
Chariots, many chariots of fire. The music won the Oscar. It was by Greek composer Vangelis. It's very famous, the music. You can play it in your podcast, actually.
Yeah, I will.
And when the protagonist is Eric Liddell, and it takes place in 1924. It came out about 25 years ago, probably, and it's the Olympic Games. And while he's preparing for a trip to China, he's also a missionary. That's the protagonist. Mm-hmm. So his sister, and he's running at the beach, and these incredible scenes where he's running barefoot at the beach, and he hears the voice that says, with this incredible music, where does the power come from to win the race? It comes from within. Where does the power come from to win? And he's running, and you just want to cry from the energy that you feel. And he's with his sister, who is also a missionary. And his sister says to him, Eric, you should give up this little hobby of yours, the running, and do God's work, which is being a missionary. And he turns to her and says, but when I run, I feel his pleasure. I ask people in my conversations with them and in my talks, where do you feel your joy? Where do you feel your spirit awaken? And a lot of people say to me, well, when I try to go to spirit, and for me, it was speaking. Mm-hmm. So you see, for me, when that closed, that chapter closed, I had to go to find my joy in my life despite of that. And basically what I wrote is in the prayer, dear beloved, one of the greatest joys in my life is feeling your presence as I connect with others. I ask now that I may find new ways to engage, move my body, be present in the miracle of my life, and awaken to the aliveness that I have in me. I ask that I may remove the resistance, the limitations, the stubbornness of wanting things to be a certain way. The trees still go upward, and I'm able to walk on this earth through the law of gravity. And even that is a miracle. Let me grapple that fact around my head. The earth still moves around the sun in perfect motion right now. And how amazing is that? There are invisible worlds of millions of stars and planets that are all moving in perfect relation to one another. The ocean meets the shore in perfect rhythm, even when it's turbulent and stormy. Let me wrap my mind around all of that and know that I too have the spirit in me, breathing me, giving me life every moment, so I can too live in perfect harmony.
It's so powerful. I'm like blown away right now. I'm speechless, Agapi. I'm absolutely speechless, right?
Thank you so much. Because what really, and I encourage people to read this book and the prayers loud to themselves and write their own prayers, because I wrote it from that place of absolute gratitude, reverence, and sanctity. And it's like when they say life tests us, and I know you've had that test where I've come down to my knees, where I had such hard times at times in my life where I didn't know where to look, and I knew the spirit, but I couldn't find it. And so one of my favorite things to do with people now, like I did with you at the beginning or at dinner or anything, say, let's all hold hands and evoke that spirit. And never does it fail for me that the presence comes. Mm-hmm. So it's for me, it is in the prayers, and it is in these words that I wrote. And every day I'm challenged, trust me, it's not like, and then she lived happily ever after, because it never is like that. This is a very hard level, the physical world. Right. Greg, what people are going through right now in areas of the world, we have no idea of the suffering of the Ukraine people, or of the hurricane in Florida, people losing everything. So I just say, let us all get down on our knees and say thank you, because you and I, in a way, I tell myself, we're dealing with luxury problems. I know we have COVID everywhere still, and we're dealing with that. But on one sense, we are so blessed. So we must open up. I have another chapter that I love, which is like, make your life an offering to God, to life. And it's a chapter called, when my mother had this great phrase, I talk a lot about my mother. It's not a trade, it's an offering. It's when my mother was at a cocktail party and somebody loved her necklace. And my mother said, "Oh, take it, it's yours now." And it was a pearl necklace. And the woman said, "Oh my God, what can I give you back? That's amazing." And my mother said, "It's not a trade, darling, it's an offering." And that kind of offering to our lives for life, or when we give of ourselves, even silently, or just being able to be there with other people. I think I was listening to one of your podcasts where you were saying something where you were there for people unconditionally.
Yeah, it's where I get my energy from, right? It's my purpose. And I never sought out. This hit me one day. I was like, the work I do, the all of this is because, it's I get my energy from service, and it's not a line. It's a
calling.
It's a calling, and it's been very difficult. It's been very stressful, right? So, and
what has been stressful
is it's a difficult road to travel. And for example, just on the business side, right, being able to ensure the health and the success of the business in order to continue to do this work, right? The balance of how do you live this, and in my own life with my children and my spouse and my friends versus the work. Making sure that you're able to do this from a cup of fullness and not a cup of depletion. Right. So
exactly.
This is where it's the difficulty comes in. And when I use the word difficulty from a place of like obstacle, not that it's a block, but it's something that you got to push through. And I think, I'm listening to you talk now, and I would describe myself as someone that prays every single day after this conversation. Every day.
That what you say, praise?
So after this conversation, I would describe myself as someone that prays or says prayers every day. I would have never have described it as a prayer. I would describe it as put it in the universe, speak your truth, project and speak into existence, manifest the things that you want, right? Be grateful and appreciative of the lessons and the life that we're living. As you were saying, that life is very difficult, and there are a tremendous amount of hardships, and to be appreciative of the fact that we even in some cases have these hardships, right?
Yes. Well, but it comes down to one fundamental thing, and I see this in you, and I'm so grateful that we are having this video, because I see, let me just tell you what I see. Your heart is so huge, and you're caring. And I would say, for you to move more into your spirituality, you also have to receive of your amazing loving and caring and generosity that you have for people, for you.
Right.
And I think this is where often we have the block. Is like we are the givers, and we become the givers to others. But it's almost like, the way I see is like taking this energy that is, you're always giving it, and taking it for Greg, and letting the spirit touch your heart, your spirit. It's not out there anyone else says, your spirit touch your heart, and just saying thank you for who I am, for you.
Right.
Thank you for who I am. And sometimes I find that for men, it's harder to do that because then they become a mush.
Correct.
You become a real loving, and men don't like to feel that.
Yeah, the vulnerability of things. And it's funny. I talk about this with guys all the time about their inability to express emotions and be vulnerable, and how important it is. But you just nailed something which really resonated with me. I have a very difficult time receiving. I deflect a lot, right? Which is, oh, no, don't worry. It's I'll give you, I'll support you, I'll do this, and it's been a difficult thing for me. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from, but it's always been a challenge receiving a compliment or receiving help or.
Well, it's a condition. It's a condition. I mean, it comes from our parents, or we decide that we are the givers. We decide that we are going. Receiving is you lose control when you receive.
Right.
Does that make sense? It's like, when we give, we are in control because we're giving. Right. When you are receiving, when you become, whether it is that people give to you materially or people give to you, and it's very hard sometimes for people to say, God, thank you so much. Thank you for your energy towards me. I tell my sister and my nieces 100 times a day, I love you. I tell people that I hardly know, I love you, because it's this energy that goes to them. And then when they say, I love you, I take a minute to let it sink in. So I think I think that is a key point. And I like to ask our listeners to write a letter to yourself, which is one of the keys that I use, that thanks yourself for all you've been and all you've done and all you've gone through, like a love letter to yourself, and mail it and to your home. And so open it up a week later and let yourself be filled with you. The other thing I always say to people is, like, take a picture of yourself as a little boy when you were 7 or 8 or 5, and put it in your desk and look at this little boy every day, because we are all children at heart. We are these adults that we have these, lives that are very important and serious, and you're running a business and you're a father and you have incredible responsibilities, but also you are a child. And that's the beauty of the human beings. And if we lose that innocence, if we lose that essence, the essence of who we are, and so you go beyond your personality. And I would send you and all my listeners here, have guided meditations that are wonderful.
Well, we'll definitely get that and post it. I'll get.
Yes, I'll send them to you. And if people send me an email, agapi@unbindingtheheart.com, and I listen to them all the time, agapi@unbindingtheheart.com, because that was my first book, my third book, actually. My first books were about gods and goddesses. My third book was about my story. How did I become back to Agapi's heart? How did I find my heart? How did I unbind my heart? Because the message really is God is in your heart. And unless you open your heart to yourself, you're not going to experience your sense of spirituality, which is your loving. That's all it is. It's so simple, Greg, that it becomes so complicated, And what I love to do, and if you were here, I love to place my hands on the back, like on the shoulders of somebody, and like this woman did, let that energy just come in, and where you feel supported, to open up your heart and say, yes, here I am. Because who we are is not this physical being. We are this spiritual being that is invisible, but yet very visible when we let that energy come in. It's just, I say, catch the spirit.
Right. Catch it. Why do you think we lose the innocence? I mean, is it as simple as life?
Oh
Life
my
gets
God,
busy
yes.
and you know, you forget and you start prioritizing it, because it's as you said, it's one of the most important things to who we are is that inner child in us.
Well, my God, I mean, just starting from our childhood, the minute you start to go to school, what is about how good are you? How good are your grades? Are you achieving? Are you as good as your brother? Are you as good as your classmates? And then it's like, and then you are in this horrific teenage years, which is like you lose yourself, and you might as well. A lot of people go off the path, and then you go into your 20s, and you start to go, who am I? What am I doing? And it's all about the doing, the achieving, the accomplishment. So I get a sense of myself, and then where do I find love? And it's all outer. Nothing in our education, nothing in our school says, hey, it's about your heart. It's about loving yourself. It's about feeling good about yourself. It's about appreciating yourself. Whoever teaches you that.
Right.
No one teaches. Who goes to college and says humanities? I mean, what do you study when you study humanities? You study the books and the philosophers. But who says you are the most precious being in your life? How are you going to take care of yourself? Let us do this curriculum. Life 101. How are you going to open your heart, be true to your heart, learn how to receive, learn how to ask, learn what are your values, and be an autonomous human being? Whoever teaches us that, unless you go into your own studies.
Hey, so sorry to interrupt, and thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you like today's episode and you want to learn more about some of our programs, like the Better Leader program that can change your life, go ahead and click the link below. Right, and I think that's the danger. And I said this not too long ago. This is where they say it takes a lifetime to become wise, right? To have that, and at the end, and you ask people sort of at the end of their day, sort of, what advice would they give to their younger selves? And it's usually the same answer, right? Which is be present, and be loving, enjoy. Don't race through things. And with the world of social media today and instantaneousness,
oh my God,
fast food, and we
oh
don't
my God.
And part of the reason we ended up moving to Costa Rica last year was a lot of what we're talking about now. I looked at my family, and we slowed down. And one of the most important things I noticed here, so in Costa Rica, it's a big thing to watch the sunset, right?
Yes, amazing.
And the sunset and sunrise, same time every single day, 5:30, right? And you're on the equator, so it goes down pretty quickly at like for 15-20 minutes. But you notice everyone will stop. Right? People will stop and they will watch the sunset. They'll be present.
Wow.
And you'll see tourists come in, and tourists will fly down with their cell phones, and they'll stick their phone up and they'll start filming things. And you'll see them be here for a while, and then they start to slow down. And my kids in school today, they're teaching things like meditation and values and identities. And I think what an amazing experience. Back to your question, I didn't grow up in school like that. I was never taught these things. This is much later on in life. And if we're not careful, we miss that, right? If I don't ever buy your book and I don't ever read that, I just might miss these things, right? So
yes.
Anyway, there's a wonderful saying, which, the universe will give you the lessons that you need to learn. And if you don't learn them, they will present themselves again and again. And, today's been a big lesson for me listening to you. It really has. I've taken personally a lot from today's conversation.
Well, I'm so happy. And I mean, I'm looking here to what else can I read you? I mean, there's so many chapters here. I mean, there is reframing failure, is timelessness. It's this beautiful prayer that I have, love yourself the way you want to be loved, where I say, I ask that any parts of me that feel disconnected, unloved, separated from myself, be bridged by delighting in my own being and my own self. In those areas in which I feel lacking, insecure, unfulfilled, I ask right now to not look to others to fulfill them, but instead open up a dialogue with myself, with the spirit in me that breathes me, that gives me life, that knows me. What are the deeper parts of me that need, and how can I meet my needs? When I reach out to others, I ask for what I want or need. I learn how to ask, to do it from a place of freedom, honoring myself by knowing that I have the right to ask for what I want. I ask right now to be okay when others don't give me what I need. I look with the eyes of love, understanding, knowing that others too have their own process, and how they are or not with me has nothing to do with me. I release into the light my expectations of how others should be with me. I go free. I fill myself with the joy of myself and the deepest acceptance of my relationship with others. I'm grateful for who I am and for willingness to bring the Spirit into my life. So be it. I just want to say the message here is what my mother said: trust that life is for you. Trust in your life. The thing is, Greg, we lost trust that spirit and life is for us. But you said that you have that because you speak to the universe, you actually have a communication. And so I want to leave you with some tips other than getting this book and reading the prayers. There are so many, there are 52 prayers on every subject you can imagine, anything from how to be happy after divorce, how to dial spirits for direction, how to get out of a toxic environment, the discouragement trap, reframing failure to your advantage, resetting your balance, gratitude, the key to happiness and fulfillment, forgiveness, how to navigate being an empath. I mean, it's endless. I poured it out from the depths of my soul. And I ask you all to keep this book on your side. It's like a little mini Bible, but it's Agapi's Bible, which is Unconditional Love. People say to me, they open it in the morning, they open it at night, and then take a journal and write your wishes, write your prayers, write what you would like to receive more of. Take it, burn it if you want to, but start to communing. Open the channels and the floodgates will come if you are willing to keep opening it. Don't postpone joy. Don't postpone knowing your God. Don't postpone your spirit. Now is the moment.
You just reminded me of something, which is the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, right? Which is you go and you write a prayer down, or you write something down that you want. Right?
Yes.
Put it in the wall, right? And I remember doing that many, 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 many years ago, and I had forgotten about it until you were just talking now. I can I ask a favor? Can I get a signed copy of your book?
Of course,
Yeah,
absolutely.
will you send me one?
Of course. But are you in Costa Rica, right?
I'm in Toronto and Costa Rica, so I'll get you my Toronto address, and we'll get it shipped up over there. But that would be amazing. It would personally mean a lot.
Absolutely. So you send me your address, right?
Well, I'll email you afterwards, and we'll go. And just for the audience, go pick up Agapi's book. The
Speaking with
website.
Spirit, tell them the title.
Yes, I'm going to. Speaking with the Spirit, 52 prayers to guide, inspire, and uplift you. And this is your latest book. There's a couple other books as well that you've written before. We could get them at your website, which is Wake Up to the Joy of You.
Or you can get it on any bookstore. You can get it online, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever.
And it just went out on Audible as well, right?
It's on Audible. The prayers are on Audible. They're amazing.
Is it you reading it personally, or is it someone
Yes,
else?
It's me, of course. Would I let anybody else read my prayers? Are you kidding?
I don't know. I was going to say, well, that wouldn't be as good, because there's something about your energy and when you speak to them. So that's amazing. So we're going to get all of those footnotes. Speaking with Spirit, 52 prayers to guide, inspire, and uplift you. Definitely go check it out. And I would even get the book and the audio book and read the book and listen to you read the prayers at the same time. That would be amazing. This has been an honor, Agapi. This is I teared up a couple times during this conversation.
So happy.
I don't know why, but I just did. So
but your heart was coming forward. Your tenderness was coming forward. We're tender beings. Be more tender. Today, the message for anybody who's listening, be tender. Even if you have to do all your accounting and you have all your businesses and you have important meetings, just bring tenderness, because tenderness is the most powerful tool of the human heart to touch other hearts. And when we touch other hearts, we are fulfilled. The fulfillment doesn't come in creating these humongous businesses and successes and doing things that are acknowledged, that are recognizing us. The human heart thrives in the human connection.
And you're also doing teaching, right? You're teaching still
Yes.
in workshops at Thrive Global?
Yes, I teach with my sister, Arianna Huffington. I do tons of facilitation of seminars, and I coach. And I coach with that in mind, that make spirit your ally in everything you do, and then do the everyday things to progress as a spiritual being that is having a human experience, as Teilhard de Chardin said. And I teach meditation, and I teach in conferences. So if you want me to come and speak at your company, send me an email, agapi@unbindingtheheart.com, and we can do a Zoom, we can do a live event, we can do wonderful things.
Amazing. And we're going to get all that information in the footnotes.
And Agapi Sees is my Instagram. You can follow me, and Facebook and everything.
I love the handle Agapi Sees. I just started following you, actually.
Thank you.
Amazing channel. At the end of the show, we asked the better human question, but you've answered it already. But anything else that we could do to be a better human tomorrow?
Love.
Amazing.
Love yourself. Forgive yourself for whatever you think you're holding against yourself. Any thoughts, any not good enough, this is all part of the darker side, trying to tell us we need to do something to prove ourselves. Let your heart open and love with all your heart. Oh my God, I have to remember that amazing poem by Dostoevsky. You just reminded me. Which is called "Love is a Universal Energy Available to Us All the Time." So God bless you and your beautiful family. God bless all our listeners, and stay in touch. Agapi@unbindingtheheart.com. I'm here. I'm as real as they come. And I hope you get to come to New York and we can go have a drink together.
I'm there. I'm gonna let you know when I'm coming out to the East Coast, and I'm gonna make my way down there. I would love that. It would be an amazing time.
I would love it. God bless. Thank you so much. A better human, we already are.
Yes, and by the way, we got a hat coming out to you as well. So
Thank you. I love
represent the hat. All right, to the audience, if you like today's episode, don't forget to like it, subscribe, and share. Go check out Agapi at Instagram, Agapi Sees. Website is wakeuptothejoyofyou.com. I can't remember your email, but we'll get it in the footnotes as well. The book, Speaking with Spirit, 52 Prayers to Guide, Inspire, and Uplift You. You heard some of them today. Agapi, you are a gem of a human being. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing all of your insight and wisdom.
Thank you so much. This was a joy. Thank you so much.
More than a joy. All right, audience, we will see you at the next week's episode. Bye for now. Hey, thanks for listening today. And if you enjoyed today's episode, you're going to love the next one.